Hello colleagues, this is Mark Alric, President of Sales Overlays, along with Dan Kreitzer, President of the Samurai Business Group, and we're presenting our latest in our webinar series, Marketplace Leadership by Design. Siloisation. It's an odd word, but a very real factor that's nearly destroying many companies from within. It's also costing a lot of people their jobs. Now recently, Steve Ballmer took over the reins again at Microsoft to begin breaking down the silos that were preventing innovation and competitive advantage. So here's how you can recognize its causes and save your company from siloisation. Now here's how many companies appear from the outside: strong, rich, great market share, and too big to fail. But when you get into the inside, you realize the system is broke. Siloisation contributes to this broken system by keeping business units and departments separate under the disguise of accountability. And this really prevents most efforts to initiate internal collaboration and cooperation that can improve short-term sales and profitability. The damage that siloisation is causing is toxic. Toxic waste means wasted resources, wasted sales opportunities, wasted people power, wasted time, and wasted dollars. It's a toxicity that is viral and virulent. This toxic waste destroys companies from within. So, do we really know how an effective business operates? The classic view is that it's just a combination of separate parts. That's how business is taught in business schools. We seek to optimize each part, and each part has its own separate management, structure, and hierarchy for accountability purposes. It is this approach, however, that has led to siloisation over the years. I propose that a company is much more than the sum of its parts. We now know that an effective business system is organized for the purpose of continual improvement. It's a system that's comprised of interrelated parts or units that all affect each other. None stand alone. An effective business is quantifiable and manageable. Dr. W. Edwards Deming stated that improvement is a process, not a pill. Improvement is not a strategy of overnight changes. The early stages of improvement come from the result of learning. So then the challenge is, how quickly can we act on that learning? So what about our decision-making process? The way we minimize making mistakes in business is to do nothing. This is the primary reason why managers protect their jobs, but only in the short run. They're risk adverse. This is because only the mistakes that are recorded are from decisions, not the errors from not making a decision. In other words, if you don't make a decision, nothing is recorded on the books. For example, Kodak bought Sterling drugstores, which didn't work out. It was a misfit from the beginning, and their books reflected the loss. However, during the same time, they had the opportunity to buy Xerox, which they didn't, and it was a huge mistake, but it was never reflected or recorded in any of the financial statements. Now is the time to think systems thinking. All business units are interconnected parts of a larger system. Therefore, each unit only exists to serve the goals of a larger system. See, these parts or units do not have a reason for existence that are independent of the larger system it serves. Parts cannot have individual goals apart from the system. Let me go out on a limb. What you see here is not a car. What you see is a lot of great, well-made parts, but they're all disconnected and they do not serve the purpose of the system. If a doctor removes your brain, it can no longer think. The human system is dead. If sales or marketing works independently from the other business units and from the system, what do you think the result will be? Now this is a car. The parts are connected to serve the purpose of the system. The system was not designed so all the parts would work, or even for the car to move. The car was designed for the transportation of another system, people. So what happens if the parts are improved without regard to the goals of the system? What is surprising is that each of the parts do not have to be the most expensive. They don't have to be best practices or state-of-the-art to best serve the system. For example, if you replaced your car's engine with a state-of-the-art jet engine, now your car can go up to 300 miles an hour. But that doesn't improve the system. It actually makes the system much worse. This is because the jet engine increased the cost of the car to over $200,000, and the cost of fuel went up to $100 a gallon. And now the drivers received more speeding tickets because the car was not capable of driving under 150 miles an hour. The performance of a system is dependent on how the parts interact with the purpose of the system, not how well they act independent of the system. Now here's wrong thinking versus systems thinking. The wrong way is figuring out how to fix sales or marketing. Systems thinking way is to figure out how marketing and sales interact with other business functions that serve the system's goals. As we said before, performance of a system is dependent upon how the parts interact with the system and not how well they act independent of the system. In quality improvement, doing the wrong thing right is not nearly as good as doing the right thing wrong. This is not a tongue twister. Doing the wrong thing, no matter how you improve it, no matter how good you make it, will never generate continual improvement and serve the system. However, if you do the right thing, but even in wrong ways, it offers room for continual quality improvement that is measurable. An example, you're a big manufacturer, you have a lot of customers who spend millions of dollars with you, but to do the wrong thing would be to decide we won't have our salespeople meet face-to-face with our top customers anymore. It's a waste of their time. Instead, you send newsletters and emails and invitation to webinars, but only when a customer calls do they actually get to speak with a sales executive. This is doing the wrong thing, but you've got a program to reach out to them, which is a good program, but it's still doing the wrong thing. The right thing would be to mandate all the salespeople to meet monthly with top customers. But doing it in the wrong way would be like, okay, just go there when it's convenient for you and just show up. Don't call for an appointment. That's doing the right thing, but in a wrong way. Are you feeling lucky? A lot of companies don't have a sales and marketing department. They have a sales versus marketing battle. We're fighting way too many battles from within rather than becoming a unified front that wins the bigger battles. In today's marketplace, we are in a brawl with no rules. This is why we're going to be sharing why it's no longer an option that sales and marketing must unify ASAP. And this is going to need to include other business units and divisions as well. You know, it's really no secret that sales and marketing are operating cross purposes, cross goals, and crossing lines. They're not operating as a symphony. They're like rival football teams. So personal credit and glory and income supersede what's best for the company, what's best for the system, and sadly, what's best for the customers too. Now this is alarming. Sales and marketing believes that the war for new customers is only against their direct competition. Well, they're really missing the boat here. And this is because nearly 60% of qualified leads do not buy from the competition. They fall victim to the status quo. Status quo for companies always results in two things: declining sales and market share. These leads aren't buying from anyone. They're paralyzed. It's going to require sales and marketing to unify in order to begin to understand their real needs, how to get them off the fence, and start developing relationships with your company well before the competition does. What happens when companies delay unifying the sales and marketing silos is that people work harder, they work later, mistakes happen. There's a lot of pressure to produce in a very short term. There's no innovation going on. Good people quit, and this ends up costing you more. Company resources are being chewed up, and there's a stunning lack of measurable ROI for every dollar spent. Let's face it, people don't like to change. It's a hard sell, but everybody still wants to be well paid for maintaining the status quo. But change won't happen until the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain to change. And we've heard this, I don't know how many decades now. But we're running out of time. You see, siloisation is actually a manifestation of a much bigger problem. The true cause of siloisation is whether you have present-minded management who are paralyzed or future-minded management who act and know how to take personal risks. In other words, do you operate under a pressure and mindset of short-term results or for long-term profitability and growth? Now, we're not saying you cannot achieve short-term results, but to do both requires a future-minded strategy from successful, unified collaboration and, frankly, an environment of openness and risk-taking. What will fix sales or marketing won't be found in either sales or marketing. What am I saying here? New marketing programs or new salespeople won't matter? Well, yes, they can make a difference, but it's not enough. The causes of poor sales or underproducing marketing were not caused by sales or marketing. Customer attrition is usually not caused by sales or marketing. They were caused elsewhere, and the results are manifesting in sales and marketing. Steve Jobs, the silo giant killer. Steve Jobs rejoined Apple in 1997 and immediately destroyed company barriers, most product lines, and even egos. He even allowed product managers to cannibalize other Apple products to make new ones because he said if Apple doesn't do it, other companies would. This is why Apple invented the iTunes and Sony did not. He knew the secret to protecting Apple's market leadership was to keep ahead of the curve, even at the big risk of competing with an existing Apple product. The result? In 1997, 100 shares worth about $2,100. By 2011, 100 shares worth over $37,000. This unification not only saved Apple, it boosted their market value way ahead of Microsoft. Are you ready to consider setting up a serious meeting with sales and marketing? Would you also allow other business unit leaders to join in as well? We have a blueprint. In reading Lou Gerstner's book, Who Says Elephants Can't Dance, he shared how IBM was saved from bankruptcy by saving them from themselves. Siloisation was caused by people who were more committed to their own personal power and position than to the organization's health and future, which really did result in each employee's future being jeopardized greatly. IBM was addicted to siloisation. Gerstner stripped the separate business units of their autonomy and power. He then unified them into a common goal system where everyone's success or failure depended on the others who were not directly part of their department. I want to say that again. Everyone's success or failure depended on the others who were not directly part of their department. The math works. Marketing usually focuses on strategy and industry, whereas sales focuses on tactics and execution. The combining of these two into a single strategy will not only save money, but each dollar spent becomes a measurable investment in growing the customer portfolio and growing it more profitably. Here's a case study where the results are probably a fairly familiar story. This company was a pioneer in database server technology. The product was the first to integrate hardware and software to provide an extremely high-performance database processing tool. Silo A, the marketing department, viewed the product through the hardware lens. As a result, they focused only on industry verticals where the driving metric was price and performance. Silo B, the sales department, viewed the product through the software lens. They focused on the end user and high-volume transaction processing markets. They were selling solutions to solve a critical bottleneck problem. In fact, they ignored each other's ability to contribute insight and specific tactics. So by ignoring each other, sales focused on the end user and problem solving, and marketing focused on price and product performance. So as a result, all the marketing materials generated were virtually useless for the sales organization. Sales needed marketing to expand the end user's market awareness that a solution to a very serious limitation of existing technologies was indeed available. That really didn't happen quite that way. From the CEO's viewpoint, the story did not have a happy ending. Instead, based on a study of current industry price and performance curves, marketing came to the conclusion that a price decrease of 50 to 60% was necessary to bring the company's products in line with industry standards. This strategy was implemented by the product managers in spite of the fact that the sales organization was encountering virtually no price resistance from the customer base. So everyone had excuses. Heads rolled, but the leadership was going to remain at fault until they themselves changed and unified the system. Which brings up an even older, sadder story. Companies overreact to poor sales by dropping prices or cheapening products or cutting internal costs, sending production overseas, firing 5,000 employees. This company not only did not increase sales, they slashed their profit per sale in half because of the overreactive price reduction. This company was working overtime to implode. No one has to change. Survival is optional. Actually, so is failure. Because if you don't like change, you don't like risk, or you decide to hesitate too long in today's marketplace, we can end up endangering the company we work for and the people who depend on us to make the right decisions. When sales and marketing come together, you're working with a complete toolbox. Sales and marketing should have collaborated to create an ROI-driven strategy to meet the real needs of a profitable customer. Targeting the right prospect with the right solution and at the right price and timing lays the foundation necessary for sustainable growth and profitability. And this can only become a reality through the cooperation and collaboration of these two business units. You can begin now. You have all the resources you need to begin unifying sales and marketing. Think tank with each of the two managers separately Ask sales, what would you do if you were in charge of marketing? And then ask marketing, what would you do if you were in charge of sales? Also ask them, if you had to do everything over again, start from scratch, what would you do? Their answers just might stun you. We're suggesting that intensive problem-solving, strategy-building sessions will enable you, empower you to consider so many issues from so many different angles. This is an open system which encourages communication and collaboration and honesty through this kind of session. Invite the product people, the sales people, marketing, accounting, customer service, other divisions for their input. You'll get perspectives and insights from all angles. This will result in the creation of a unified sales and marketing system that reaches common goals much quicker and less expensively. This is real systems thinking at work. You see, everyone thinks of changing the world, but no one thinks of changing themselves. We're always expecting something else to change that will help us. But here's a provocative question. Would either the sales or marketing manager be capable of running a unified unit? Are they willing to change to accomplish this formidable task? If not, what kind of help or resources or training will they need? So this tells us where to start. In the Deming system of profound knowledge, it's all about getting things right via first things first, and the first step is transformation of the individual. The individual transform will perceive new meaning to their life, to events, to numbers, and to interactions with people, as Deming stated. Transformed individuals set an example. They become good listeners without compromise. They continually teach other people, and they help people pull away from current practices and beliefs and move into the new philosophy without a feeling of guilt about the past. Dr. Deming was once asked, wasn't it competition that made this country great? No, he answered, it was cooperation. Competition is our ruination. We recommend that you study Dr. Deming before your competition does. During the early times of the pioneers, cooperation among farmers was essential to survival and grew the U.S. economy exponentially. Microsoft and Apple appear to be mortal enemies, but the fact is they cooperate in business ventures all the time, making millions and millions of dollars through their partnership. So why don't more businesses look at cooperation as opportunity? So cooperation should be included within your short-term goals. But in order to accomplish this, it's going to require change in how you view and think about your organization. Albert Einstein once said, you can't solve a problem using the same thought process that created it in the first place. Now, Jack Welch created GE University for the very purpose of sharing knowledge and experience across company lines and barriers and silos and brands. GE University is a physical place that is housed in an academic building located at their headquarters. Now, this statement is true when cooperation becomes a reality. Learn from Steve Jobs, Lou Gerstner, and Jack Welch, who all achieved short-term success by breaking down those internal barriers through cooperation. The cooperation and unification process starts with an audit of both departments that begins with an internal roundtable that includes sales, marketing, product, finance, and other key players. To facilitate this process, consider including an outside consultant to help you navigate the political and organizational issues that are certain to be encountered. This team can also help you break down the silos and recast the company into an open and team-oriented and incentive-based operation. See, once the unification plan has been developed, an independent consultant can help you in implementing it and monitoring it and benchmarking your progress. Can you measure the real cost of non-action or fear of change? Do you know how to calculate this? This significant factor is never found in any company's financial statement. Measuring ROI is everything, but it requires a plan of unity forged by cooperation. An internal buy-in at the highest level will accelerate everything, including cooperation and team building, shared goals, and shared incentives. Upper management will love this, and they will love to reward those who volunteer to spearhead this. No matter how elegant your strategy, occasionally you should consider the results. This is because results drive and validates all strategies. Yes, this is about money, but it's not about spending more. It's about investing it more wisely so it can generate a greater return and a measurable ROI and position the company to dominate its markets. The question is not whether you can afford to make the change. The question is whether you can afford to delay it any longer. It's like the handwriting on your wall. Why delay? The biggest reason to get started now is, well, we're already well into 2013, so you have to determine what's really at stake here. There's obviously more to solving this challenge than we could address in this brief presentation, but that will require something that we do very well, a diagnostic think tanking session. So in the meantime, get out there like Steve, Lou, and Jack and become a silo buster. I'd love to hear your comments. Please contact me via my email address or my phone number.